All right, good Thursday morning, everyone. We are on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with Jim Cramer. And Jim, stock's holding up even with more tit-for-tat China-U.S. tariffs.
Yeah, remember, we are a consumer economy. 2/3 of the economy is about spend. And so when you calculate what the tariffs are doing, perhaps it raises. Look, Williams Sonoma, I got a piece this morning in real money. 15% of the cost of goods sold is affected by the $200 billion in tariffs because they do furniture, and they'll just have to source away from China. So what companies are doing is they're frantically moving their business away from China, trying to, or if they're, actually, it could hurt our economy in the way that our companies, some of our companies might want to make their stuff elsewhere so that they can have access to the Chinese market. But I do believe that China's going to be the big loser because they take 1/4 of what we take. And given that that's a ratio, that's a little more like 1/5, then the loser will be China. And the Williams Sonoma call is really indicative of what's going to happen. When you see Lowe's stock roaring and Home Depot stock, remember, they probably have a very similar cost of goods sold ratio to Williams Sonoma. And these companies are able to source. They can source where they want. They can stop selling one product and sell another. Will it be a little more expensive for the consumer? Williams Sonoma will say no.
Quite the workaround for Williams Sonoma.
Quite the workaround.
Pretty incredible to see that. But Jim, tariffs may actually help Alibaba. The vice chairman said that Chinese consumers will just focus on domestic.
They'll shift to buy domestic, but I think that's these are. If he goes there and Tmall decides, listen, we're not going to feature American companies, then our president's going to say, I don't want anyone buying Chinese. If it's made in China, shouldn't be bought. I don't think he cares about Dollar Store or Dollar General. Our president is vicious when it comes to this stuff. And I know that everyone thinks the presidency is, he's president for life, and Trump is going to eventually get elected or not in the midterm elections. But what I point out is that a president for life may not be for life. And you have to understand that the impact of these tariffs is going to hit the Chinese people very, very hard. And the Chinese government has to prop up the stock market. They're afraid to go repatriate their treasuries because then they have to go buy yuan. That will drive up the yuan. That will hurt their export market. So the Chinese are caught between a hard place because they have to provide all these jobs. It's a communist country. In the end, I prefer, I think the system that works is capitalism, not communism. The only way that communism works is to steal from capitalism, and that's what they're doing. Now, I've held this view long before President Trump had it. I remember speaking with President Trump in, say, around 2008-9, where I was speaking very vociferously about the pernicious ways that the Chinese do business, having watched them destroy my father's business. And he said, yeah, he was nodding, he agreed with me. But my friend Larry Kudlow never agreed with me because I'm calling for very strict tariffs. And I think that the tariffs are natural. And do I care? I wish that it had not been done on aluminum first because we don't have a lot of aluminum jobs. And I do favor low-cost goods for Americans. But obviously Americans are spending and their balance sheets are good. And if there's ever going to be a time to take a stand against the Chinese, it is now. If we insisted about what they insisted, we would be the laughingstock and also be the world-class criminal nation if we did what they're doing. So, I mean, before you just decide that it's really bad about what our government's doing, you do not understand what the Chinese have done here and what they plan to do. So I think that this is the time when the consumer's flush, when the consumer has good balance sheet, when we're spending like mad, and we can afford to not take Chinese goods without it very easily.
Well, and all the more puzzling that it took the U.S. government this long to address the issues.
No. The interests of big corporations, and this is from Elizabeth Warren, but also from the people within the White House, the interests of the big corporations trumped a lot of what was good for Americans in order to get industrial America, in order to be able to get access to the Chinese market. So this was devil's bargain. We basically said, okay, listen, we'll take the cheap Chinese goods, we'll wipe out the American industries that make them, and we'll still be able to have access to the largest market, which is China. So this was a deal that was made. It is not that previous presidents didn't put up a fight. It's previous presidents were complicit. And this is what Senator Warren would tell you, and it's what Peter Navarro would tell you. And when you have the left and right in agreement, sometimes you have to listen. Now, am I as extreme on some issues than others? No. But I do point out that it was a bargain. It was a bargain for American multinationals who, to sacrifice our heavy industries in order to be able to have access to their markets and also give us cheaper goods. And that's just, I mean, the narrative that President Trump chases out is not a true narrative. The narrative is that, I mean, my view is, I would say, a little more nuanced, which is that the big companies sold us out and the governments agreed with the big companies. This is not a Trotskyite view, and it is not a Milton Friedman view. It is a view that's based on empiricism, and it's not anecdotal.
Important distinction there, Jim. And if we needed another reminder that the U.S. economy is strong, look no further than Children's Place, 13.2%.
Yeah, now the bears are going to try to knock this one down, focused on gross margins. But I think what will happen is that when you get a double-digit comp number, it's very hard to keep it down. Now, I think this is really interesting. Take a look at where Home Depot is now, okay? Home Depot is now 9 points above where Home Depot went down after it reported because people were worried about gross margins, people were worried about housing turnover. It turned out to be an amazing buying opportunity. The stock then vaulted 9. So if you want to wait for Children's Place to go down, I want you to think about the model of Home Depot, because that's the model that will prevail. This is not JCPenney. This is not Bon-Ton stores. This is a vibrant retailer that is got a very healthy short position, and that I think is in large part the shorts pressing the bet because of gross margins. But in the end, comp store sales numbers are what matter. That's what drove Home Depot back up. That's what will drive Children's Place back up.
And Jim, when Home Depot shares fell after that report, you said right here that it was a buy.
I urged people. I said, listen, you got to buy Home Depot. You have to. And it was a good call.
Jim, who do you have on Mad Money tonight?
I've got a guy, let's talk about the public trade company. I've got Tellurian on. The chairman of it is Sharif Suki. And Sharif Suki is the father of the liquefied natural gas export market. And there's a lot of talk in the conventional press that the Chinese are going to cripple that market. I want to find out if they're going to. I don't try to say fake and real news. I say reporting can be slanted, not lies. But just if you don't source correctly, you tend to be able to get a picture that may not be in sync with reality. I want to find out. Now, if Sharif Suki says, listen, the Chinese are going to crush the liquefied natural gas market, it's over, then all these articles I read are right. Let's find out what he says.
Okay, that's tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern on CNBC. Jim, we're going to keep talking about stocks in our ActionAlertsPlus.com video. Please join us over there.